This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast.
Cryptocurrency decrypted.
Welcome to day 8 of the 12 days of YMB Christmas. Today's special is an old recording that was never officially released as part of the YMB podcast. Since we've been reminiscing about our first full year of podcasting, we thought it would be fun to release one of our very first recordings. This short episode was our entry for the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast contest over a year ago. We didn't win, but the content in this recording is still awesome. We'll be chatting about the uncertain future of Bitcoin and how it could end up being replaced. Fair warning, the audio quality in this show is horrific. You'll be glad that we now have over 50 episodes of experience. Your hosts are Tim Baker, John Stewart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go. This is You, Me, and Bitcoin. We're back. I'm here with Tim Baker and John Stewart again. Today, we are going to talk about the future of Bitcoin. Not just the great things that it could do for us. We might mention the possibility that it could fail, but we are also going to talk about the ideas and everything it's brought to the table for us, everything it's meant to us, what it could do, what it might do, and everything that Bitcoin means. Here we go. One of the things we wanted to talk about was how Bitcoin, as much as we love Bitcoin, as much as we would love for it to be really successful and to take over the world in a way, to run our lives, to change our lives, and I still completely expect that to happen. But we just want to remember and talk about how we don't know the future. We don't know if Bitcoin will succeed or if there's going to be something better that comes along to replace it. Now, people have already mentioned this and have always talked about it, how maybe Litecoin will come in and change things. People have always known that it could be replaced, but I think there's also a lot of sort of feelings that it's finished, that Bitcoin has, I don't know, some people just seem to think that Bitcoin really is, I don't know, permanent, definite, that it's really the best, that it's going to change everything. And I believe that to an extent, but I also think that we should be honest with ourselves and just admit and be honest and say that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if, I mean, there's plenty of, I don't think Bitcoin is going to get destroyed. Obviously plenty of reasons that no one's going to take down Bitcoin or destroy it or anything like that. But just, there could be something better or things could change. It's just, we really just don't know the future. We don't know what to expect or anything.
That's kind of the way, at least we always hope markets will work, is that entrepreneurs it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. It could just be someone that just makes up the program. They're not necessarily benefiting a huge amount from it, but that the market will always create something better because we don't know something's better until we get it. I think one of the better things, just because it was so minimal, I heard described, was in reference to talking about how we'll get these things and we won't even know that we wanted them before we got them. And that's someone used the example of the little Keurig coffee cups. I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but it seems like people, a lot of people like those. But how many people before those came out really thought that was something that they needed in their life or something they would spend lots of money on? But now people do, which I guess going back to the Bitcoin is that there's plenty of things that we can think of that you might want more add on to Bitcoin. Like you can just maybe technology we don't even have right now. But then there's always the chance of something that we're not even thinking of that might pop up years ahead or decades ahead or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. A lot of things come, a lot of new things, a lot of things that really change our world. Nobody really expected them. Nobody really thought they could be reality or something like that. But once they come, then we realize true use, the true potential. And that's definitely true with Bitcoin. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who never expected anything like this. They didn't know how it could help us or how it would change our lives. But it could also be true of something that comes after Bitcoin. There could be something that equally surprises us. It exceeds our expectations. It could be better than Bitcoin. Another thing that is important about Bitcoin, though, is that it's still there's certain rules that are more set or more definite than others, but really it's still developing, it's still changing. So if there is a demand for something, for a new feature, for something that could make it better, a lot of those things can still be added to Bitcoin. That's one of the best things about it, is how if we need something, if there's something better, a lot of times, I mean, it depends exactly what it is or how it would work, but a lot of times you can just add that right onto Bitcoin. And because Bitcoin is an opt-in service, because you choose whether or not you agree to it or not, then if somebody wants to add a feature or something, then just if people like it, then people can use it, and it's still Bitcoin. It's still the same currency, just has a new sort of design, a new feature. And I think that's something that we're still in the middle of, is all this new stuff, all these new things being added. I think we still have a long way to go there, and I think we're going to see a lot of changes pretty soon.
I've also heard a lot of stuff about using Bitcoin for stuff besides a currency, which I don't know too much. But I guess, I mean, one of the easiest things would be most obvious things would be like a public ledger of all transactions, which is, I mean, that's tied in with a currency, but that's not just the exchange that it's being used for. It's being used as a record. And again, this is what I don't know too much about. Not to say that I know a ton about the transaction stuff either, but using the blockchain for different proofs of things. I don't know if you know more about that, Daniel, or not, but
yeah, I don't know a lot about how they work, but I have heard several different things. There's the new Mastercoin project that is coming out. I mean, there's several different uses, even for that. It's supposed to be built on top of Bitcoin, but there's also things that can be built on top of Mastercoin. But there's things like sort of like stock exchange type of things, or more entrepreneurial type of applications for Bitcoin that I've heard people are working on. I've heard about how you can put contracts into Bitcoin transactions. You can use the blockchain to prove that certain data existed at a certain time. And that's one of the most important things, I think, for Bitcoin, is how there, in any transaction, there is just sort of a blank space for you to throw in any kind of data you want. And I think that could be used for all kinds of things. Even if we never added or sort of changed the protocol or the rules or anything, there's still an area there to do. It's pretty much a blank slate. You can do whatever you need to, whatever you want to. I think that's pretty cool, and I think there's a lot of potential there, which we haven't seen yet. I think a lot of that it's still under development.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's important about Bitcoin is, like, it's not necessarily just valuable in itself. It's kind of an idea. It's a new way of doing things. So even if, like, Bitcoin itself doesn't stay around, whether some other cryptocurrency comes in or something like that, it's still based off of ideas that are taken from Bitcoin.
That's true. It's an important thing about Bitcoin is even if Bitcoin fell apart, even if the value went to zero, even if, God forbid, even if the blockchain broke, even if the network completely failed, even if the internet disappeared, Bitcoin is even then Bitcoin is still about more. There are a lot of ideas and experiences that have come through Bitcoin that are really amazing. They're amazing ideas. The idea of not letting the government control your money. The idea of using cryptography to create a whole economy like this. There are a lot of great things that have come from Bitcoin. And even if it falls apart completely, it's still not worthless. We've still had so many great things in the past. It's going to have at least some sort of sentimental value, even if it falls apart.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's more important than like what it's done for any individual. It's like done important things for economics, for currencies, and just for people's ideas about exchange and things like that. It's an idea more than it is an actual concrete thing that makes Bitcoin important, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, the idea of not having to trust third parties, the idea of being the government. Really, when it comes to Bitcoin, the government has zero control. They really do have zero control. Now, Bitcoin isn't everything. The government still has control over a lot of other things, but Bitcoin is kind of a spark. It's just the beginning. It's helped people to see that maybe it is possible. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to really. A revolution has a lot of connotations that might not be perfect here, but in some ways, it is kind of like a revolution. It's the people, and that's what the network is. That's what the blockchain is. It's people who, with their computers and their miners, are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to let you take our money. We're not going to let you control the economy. We're going to figure this out for ourselves and do it the way we want to do it, not the way you want us to do it. And that's pretty cool. That's something interesting. And Bitcoin really has contributed a lot in that area.
You said that about the government controlling their economy or controlling the economy. It's kind of just making an entirely new economy. Just, okay, we don't like this one. We're just going to leave. And normally you're not allowed to, but Bitcoin kind of allows you to just opt out of that system. Now, it's kind of hard to do that entirely because most people need to pay their electricity bills or their rent or stuff like that in dollars. But to an extent, you can, to as much as you can or as much as you're comfortable with, you can opt out of that economy where you don't worry about how the dollar's doing. You're actually hoping the dollar goes down.
Right.
Well, and it's one of those things, if something happens to Bitcoin, people are going to be trying to figure out a way to do it again, because once you have it and you're forced to go back, you're not going to be satisfied anymore. It's just one of those things, I think. So, like, even if something were to happen and like the Bitcoin system failed, people would be doing something to figure out another way to accomplish the same things.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I guess it's just too good, too helpful, too great. It's done so many great things for so many people that you're exactly right. If it did fail, people aren't going to let that be the end. People are going to figure out a way to get things back, to make it work again, or to make it work a different way, or whatever they need to do. Yeah, we don't know if Bitcoin is going to succeed. It might be replaced by something better. I think it's pretty safe to say that you can't really threaten the network. There's just too many computers, too much mining power and things like that. That even if a lot of countries made it illegal, even if some countries were able to physically get rid of the hardware and like that, you really only need two computers, or maybe even just one computer, just to sit there and mine and make things work. So I think it's safe to say that the network isn't going to fail or anything. But even if there were any other factors that made, if less people used Bitcoin, whatever it is, like we just don't know the future. We just don't know what's going to happen. It's hard to admit that because we love Bitcoin, but we really just don't know. Even we do know the past, and we do know everything that Bitcoin has already done for us, and we do know how it's contributed to society and how it's helped us understand our world, and it's helped us understand politics a little bit. It's helped us understand economics, and it's taught us a whole lot about those things. So even if the future is a complete wreck for Bitcoin, we still know that the past has been pretty awesome. It's been enjoyable, but also helpful.
Helped us learn stuff. Well, basically, what you're saying. Right?
Definitely, yeah. It's helped us learn a lot of things. I mean, it's been a pretty powerful statement in terms of politics and things like that. But even on a personal level, like I've just enjoyed it. I've just loved watching Bitcoin, reading about Bitcoin, writing about Bitcoin, learning about it, speculating, trying to make a buck. I've just enjoyed it on a personal level as well. So
I guess that goes right into the second thing about basically what's Bitcoin made possible. And I guess you've been talking about that for a bit now, Daniel. It's opened up a huge kind of new area for you to write about, something that's relatively new. It's not already been just written about to death, basically. And it's, besides just like giving people just plenty of stuff to write about, I think new things, then also people are more ready to accept unestablished writers about stuff that's new. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think, especially I'd be more likely to listen to you about Bitcoin than I would be to listen to you about silver purchasing, I guess, or something that's been around for a lot longer that you could at least assume that other people know more, where Bitcoin being something that's relatively new, it's a lot more people can get their voices out on it and can be heard and can be taken seriously. Now that's good and bad. And you can get people who don't have any idea what they're talking about, who just talk. But I think I'd rather have an area where everyone was at least like listened to, and then afterwards you decide what they have to say, instead of just assume, okay, he's 19 or whatever, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Or I guess once you get around that age, I guess adults start taking you seriously, kind of, I guess. But okay, he's like 15, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'd rather have someone, it's just, okay, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about, but I'll at least read it, listen to it, and then decide afterwards, instead of just jumping to a conclusion, which I think Bitcoin allows. And like you were saying, Daniel, about the speculating on it, none of us, I really think a few years ago, really thought that we would be speculating with the kind of money that I've been spending in the past month on Bitcoin. I'm not speculating as much. I kind of just like using Bitcoin. I'm not going to say I've never sold some of the Bitcoin. I came close to selling it a few weeks ago or last week when it was dropping quite a bit, but I held on and didn't completely lose my nerve. But it's weird for me to think about kind of coming, because I live in not like a hugely poor area, but no place where people are normally like really involved in any kind of a market of trading currencies. We were talking about how Bitcoin's like given us something, it's been enjoyable, and that's probably been the most enjoyable thing from Bitcoin for me, is the ability to be kind of just be like a speculator, kind of just to like I'm able to opt out of the US economy, which I'm kind of all for, coming from like an agorist perspective of just trying to fight against the government by going through different economic channels, whether that's working under the table or, I mean, Bitcoin's great for that. I love buying stuff in Bitcoin from people, and it's so much quicker than cash, or you can't send cash over the internet. I mean, you still have to go through a bank, but so it's so much nicer than using the dollar for stuff like that. But I've gone on kind of a rant here, so I don't know if you guys have.
I'm going to go back to something you were saying a little bit earlier, Tim, about how it gives people like an opportunity. People are taken more seriously. And like you mentioned that's a lot just because it's new. I could definitely see in the future there being people who are more respected for their opinions on Bitcoin or whatever. Like, as it's been established more, I think there will be more definite areas where credibility is found. But in a way, with Bitcoin, it still kind of does level the playing field in that way because it's anonymous and because it's decentralized. So this is I guess what I like most about Bitcoin is that it makes everybody equal. Puts as far as like trading and sending things back and forth, everybody's using the same tools. I guess I don't know, but I'm not like you guys were saying. This is my kind of one of my first forays into. Yeah, this is my first time kind of doing anything remotely close to what could be called speculating in like anything that people might consider investment. So it has been fun for that reason. But I'm not much of a consumer, and I'm not someone who's so interested in investment and things like that for its own sake. It's more for me about simplifying things, and I think that's what Bitcoin does. It makes trading simple and fair again. It's like kind of going backwards in a way, which is ironic because it's only been made possible through modern technology. But I think it's gotten us back to a lot of principles of like freedom, free trade, and it's leveled the playing field in that way. I don't remember whenever you started getting in on this, Daniel, but I remember like when me and Tim first found out about Bitcoin, I was interested in it mostly because I had kind of gotten fed up with the idea that you couldn't save money anymore because interest rates were so low and inflation is so rapid that it's not like it's basically stupid to save money. You might as well just blow it all because you're going to retain more value that way. So when I first got interested in Bitcoin, I did not like expect anything like what's happened to happen. It was more just like I could actually put money into this and save it and not be losing in the long run.
I guess it was nice to be able to invest in something and to like get, I guess, just the possibility of just gaining more value, not necessarily just changing it back into dollars, but just gaining more value, and doing that involved in like a program that is free market and it's not harming anyone. So it feels I'm able to support a network that I really agree with, and at the same time there's a possibility that the value of that can go up. So it's like, why would I not do this? So that's kind of what I really like. Now, I started out in the silver thing, precious metals for like holding value, but then Bitcoin kind of came in there too, and I kind of probably decided a few months ago, or maybe a month ago, that I don't care too much about the precious metal stuff. I guess that's more just for holding value, but I definitely I love the idea of Bitcoin as a use of exchange, but I don't know why I'm getting into this.
You love Bitcoin as what?
I said a use of exchange, but then I really kind of went off on something. I'm not sure where.
Well, that's true. A lot of people are interested in Bitcoin because of its value. Really, it gains so much value so fast sometimes that's what draws people to it, is because they think they can make money. And that's helpful. That's pretty exciting, especially when it happens to me. I like making money. But even if Bitcoin never went up or down in price or anything like that, it still has a use and a purpose. It still allows me to send money.
I'd say it becomes even more valuable. I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't know if you'd find someone who would argue really against this, but it becomes more valuable once the price is stabilized, because you can kind of still make the argument now that because it's going up, no one's going to spend it, no one's going to hoard it. And yeah, that makes sense that would make sense. Like, you'd think that would happen, but that's not how people act. It's one of those things that just people don't go along with how you think they're going to, which is what makes any kind of a planned economy, planned stuff like that, it just doesn't work, because you can't always, I guess it's not that often, but there's definitely quite a few times where people just don't do what you expect. Like, I'm much more willing to spend my Bitcoin now because it's like, oh, I can get 0.2 or 0.0 0.02. Fine, I could spend it. Do I think it's going to go up? Probably, yeah. But I have more money now. I'm not worried about spending a bunch of it and then having it go down to where I have even less value, like dollar wise, in my Bitcoin than I did whenever I first bought in, because I'm just not worried about it. I don't see, especially when it's built up to these kind of highs for the Bitcoin price, I'm not as worried about it dropping down really quick. And if it does, I know, at least from history, from what it's been doing, I'm pretty sure it'll go back up. So as long as it's going up, I'm gonna spend it. If it goes down in price, I'm gonna buy more just to get more whenever it does.
Right. I think yeah, what you're saying is how you would expect people to hoard it. You would expect people to not spend it if the value is rising, but that hasn't seemed to have been the case, especially with just recently with the pretty big bubble. Well, it depends how you define a bubble, but with the rises recently and such a high price, there's actually been a huge sales volume, which the payment processor BitPay has been talking about this and everything, but they have done record-breaking sales with the rising price when the price is so high. So yeah, I think you're exactly right.
What Tim was touching on kind of speaks to that I feel like a lot of the people who are in Bitcoin now have been in it for a while. So right now they really have nothing to lose by spending Bitcoin.
Definitely, yeah. Because with the price as high as it is, it could drop 90% or more, and a lot of people out there would never lose anything compared to their original investment or compared to what they originally put in. Yeah, it could drop 90% and they still wouldn't lose. So you're right. They could just power their way through it. They could just get through a drop and bring it back eventually, probably.
And I think the other thing too, and it's kind of hard to make a statement like this, and I almost don't feel comfortable doing it because there's not really any way to like verify this. But so far, I think Bitcoin has seemed, from what I can tell at least, Bitcoin has seemed to attract people who are interested in it because of the ideas it represents about like free market and getting rid of trusted third parties and making it like individual transactions again, peer to peer. I think it's attracted people who are interested for those kind of reasons more than it has attracted people who are just in it to win it, I guess. I mean, there are people like that too, but it seems like a lot of people are in it. They're in it like with their heart and soul, I guess, and that's why they're not as worried about spending it now.
Right, and I think that's important because if people were just in it because of the value and because it could help them get dollars, then that means eventually they're going to leave it. Price is going to drop, and if that was everyone, then eventually everyone would leave back into the dollars that they want. Price would collapse. But I think you're right. It's hard to know for certain, but it seems like there are plenty of people who support it because of the values and the ideas behind it. And when you think of it that way, then even if people started losing money on Bitcoin, even if the value in dollars went below their original investment, they might still have a reason to stick around. And really, it's true. It has value completely unrelated to the dollar, and that means a whole lot for the Bitcoin economy. That's our show for today. Thanks everybody for listening. Let us know what you think. Leave some comments. Leave a tip if you're willing. That would be amazing. And be sure to join us next time. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to our 8th Christmas special. Our hashtag for today is YMB Original. Send a tweet to @YouMe and BTC with the hashtag YMB Original, and you'll be entered to win some awesome prizes, including Bitcoin and silver. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Rollin.io, for supporting this event.
Visit Rollin.io to check out the provably fair Bitcoin dice site. You can get some free Bitcoins to try it out, too. We'll see you tomorrow for Day 9.